I'm Petty Officer Kathleen Booth.
And I'm Petty Officer Herb Josie. This week on Navy Marine Corps News, the Chief of Naval Operations asks sailors to help spread the word the Navy's still hiring.
The Armed Forces team up to provide better health care for service members nationwide.
And we'll talk with Seattle Mariners slugger Ken Griffey Jr.
Join us for these stories and more on Navy Marine Corps News. This week on Navy Marine Corps News, the Chief of Naval Operations asks sailors to help spread the word the Navy's still hiring. The Armed Forces team up to provide better health care for service members nationwide. And we'll talk with Seattle Mariners slugger Ken Griffey Jr. Join us right here for these stories and more next on Navy Marine Corps News.
Welcome to Navy Marine Corps News. I'm Petty Officer Herb Josie.
And I'm Petty Officer Kathleen Booth.
The United States is now processing Haitian migrants on board the Navy hospital ship Comfort.
Petty Officer Dave Smith is on board the Comfort and files this report.
The hospital ship Comfort's new mission as a processing platform was put to the test as the U.S. Coast Guard delivered 35 Haitian migrants to her door. Since most of the process is administrative, Comfort's medical facilities are basically on standby for emergency care only.
We were struck by how healthy appearing this group was compared to what we were expecting.
The extent of their medical needs consisted of 2 pregnant women, 1 advanced case of athlete's foot, an abscessed tooth, and a 3-centimeter boil. So although the OR staff was ready for anything, no surgery was needed. So the medical staff's main job during the process is to conduct physicals, draw blood, and give x-rays.
We practice it just to make sure there'd be no flaws in it.
How'd it work out today?
So far, so great. No problems at all.
I think it's been a smooth process. I think it's taking a little bit longer than we figured it would, but I think it's going well altogether.
The migrants went from the first station to the International Organization for Migration. It was 13 hours after their arrival that medical received its first 3 migrants. Only those migrants who've been approved during the process make it to this point. Before the night was done, 6 of the 35 migrants were seen by medical.
From a medical standpoint, it went exceptionally well. All our people were on station, primed for our first boatload of migrants from the Coast Guard, and the initial unloading went exceptionally well.
The next boatload of Haitians may take a few days to arrive since the Coast Guard won't pick the migrants up until they get a substantial number. And the trek from Haiti to Jamaica takes about 22 hours. But Comfort's here, and the crew is waiting to complete their assigned task. From aboard USNS Comfort, I'm Petty Officer Dave Smith.
Thanks, Dave. More than 120 Haitians have been picked up by U.S. Coast Guard cutters in international waters off the coast of Haiti and brought to the Comfort.
So far, only 6 have been granted asylum. They were sent to the naval base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba for further processing.
Back in the States, an improving economy and a diminishing pool of 17 to 24-year-olds is making the job of Navy recruiters a little tougher, but there's something you can do to help. You wouldn't guess from the work they're doing, but these sailors are Navy recruiters. And so are these. In fact, you, me, and anyone else in a Navy uniform can consider themselves a Navy recruiter. All we have to do is find people we know and tell them about the Navy.
If they've had a good experience, and most all of us have, and if they like what they're doing and they found some challenge or some education or whatever it was they were looking for, then they can most help by telling others and being a good advertisement for us with the people who might come in.
Don't just tell them about the Navy. Tell them that despite right-sizing, the Navy's still got the Help Wanted sign out for about 55,000 positions.
We are still hiring. We still need more people to join the Navy, and the folks that are out there in the fleet can help us by giving people referrals to our local recruiting stations. And if not, just call the 1-800 number, USA Navy.
Hey, recruiting today, may I help you?
Real recruiters are in competition with an improving economy for a smaller pool of 17 to 24-year-olds, so that makes the job a little tougher.
I basically sell them on the education opportunities in the Navy, the job security, the benefits that the Navy offers, and the fact that they're not going to get a pink slip next week.
So here's your chance to shape the Navy of the future. Who knows? That person you turn on to the Navy today could one day be your relief, or Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, or even Chief of Naval Operations. To get those 55,000 recruits, the Navy needs more people to sign them up, more recruiters.
If you're a sharp petty officer who's looking for a challenging job selling the Navy, consider recruiting. Just talk to your detailer or command career counselor.
Now, when we come back, 4 USS America sailors rescue an infant from an apartment fire in Norfolk.
But before we take a break, here's a word from Admiral Borda about his first 2 months as Chief of Naval Operations. Don't go away.
So far, I've been really pleased. I have been out about in the Navy a little bit. Going to be on the West Coast, I think, in July. And I'm pleased with what I see. There's a lot of room for improvement, but there's not a lot of room for improvement in the attitudes and caring approach and hard work and dedication of our people. They are, as they always have been, the strength of this whole outfit.
50 years ago, the Allies launched the long-awaited invasion of Western Europe. On June 6, 1944, approximately 157,000 Allied soldiers landed at Normandy as part of the largest invasion force ever assembled. A force in excess of 5 infantry and 3 airborne divisions from the U.S., Great Britain, and Canada were supported by more than 10,000 aircraft and 5,000 ships. D-Day was the first step on the road to victory in Western Europe. I'm General Norman Schwarzkopf. A grateful nation remembers.
Welcome back to Navy Marine Corps News. In our continuing effort to show you what the civilian media is saying about you in news markets around America, we've got a story about 4 sailors in Virginia who rescued a sleeping baby from an apartment blaze in Norfolk. Ann Keffer from WTKR-TV 3 in Norfolk reports.
It was late last night when the fire broke out at the apartment on Westminster Lane. 4 sailors from the USS America standing outside saw the flames in the upstairs window.
I ran down the stairs and there was 2 people downstairs, I guess a couple, I guess they're married or whatever. And so I said, you have a phone? They was like, yes. And I said, could you call 911? There's a fire upstairs.
In the meantime, another sailor got everyone in the building out.
There was 2 children and the mother. Helped them downstairs and got all the people down to the back side. And I pretty much asked them, you know, is this everybody?
Police say 2 children ages 13 years and 13 months old were left home alone in an apartment with no electricity. Fire officials say they were using a candle as a light, and that's what started the fire.
It was kind of scary because she said the baby's in the front room and we didn't know exactly where the baby was. And when we opened the door, it was nothing but smoke. So we didn't know where the baby was, how to get to it.
We took the flashlight in and we got on our stomachs and we crawled. You know, he was behind me, but I was in front. He was shining the light in front of me so I could see.
He just grabbed the baby, and when we got him outside, he woke up, so we knew he was still alive.
The 13-month-old made it out okay. The other child who lived in the apartment, a 13-year-old girl, was already outside when the fire broke out. For these 4 sailors, they don't like to call themselves heroes. It was a team effort, and they're just glad for the happy ending.
Guess we was in the right place at the right time. That's all.
In Virginia Beach, Ann Keffer, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Well, babies aren't the only ones sailors have been saving recently. A Navy helo crew in Norfolk also saved one of the world's largest turtles. This fishing vessel accidentally trapped an endangered loggerhead sea turtle in its nets about 30 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach. The Virginia Institute of Marine Science was contacted, and they asked the Navy and Coast Guard for help. A helicopter from Naval Air Station Oceana flew 2 veterinarians to a nearby Coast Guard cutter, which then took them to the fishing vessel to examine the turtle. The turtle suffered only a minor eye injury and was treated with a shot of antibiotics. The vets said the 300-pound turtle was one of the largest loggerhead sea turtles they had ever seen.
We definitely would not have been able to get out here without assistance from the Coast Guard and the Navy. We do not have vessels available that could have responded in this manner. It would have taken us days to get out here.
After a thorough checkup, the vets and the fishermen hoisted the turtle overboard and sent it back to its home in the Atlantic. I think I'd give him about a 9 for that dive. What do you think, Herb?
Great dive. Belly flop, worth a 10. Over in the Pacific, every 2 years, 5 nations join forces for an exercise called Rim of the Pacific, or Rimpac. It's designed to improve the way Allied naval forces work together.
Well, more than 25,000 people from the U.S., Australia, Canada, Japan, and South Korea took part in this year's exercise off the coast of Hawaii.
Petty Officer Brian Kaiser reports on a few Canadian sailors who made themselves at home on the aircraft carrier Constellation.
No one on board USS Constellation is surprised to see foreign sailors working on the ship during Rimpac. But for the first time in Rimpac's history, a group of foreign sailors have completely taken over a part of the ship's operations.
Calling you Bell Park.
The Anti-Submarine Warfare Shop and the Command Information Center of the Connie is being run by a group of Canadian sailors. Petty Officer Derek Griffiths is operating the sonar equipment to make sure the ship is safe from undersea attack.
Even though our procedures are almost identical, each has its own little quirks, and that way you know where they're coming from when they're asking you something, and they know where you're coming from when you ask them something.
The Canadians are learning firsthand not only how to run the equipment, but how the whole shop fits into the command information picture.
The integration's been really easy. A lot of the exercises we do are with the Americans, and a lot of our procedures and their procedures are identical.
For the American sailors, it's been an eye-opening experience.
Now we see that we do pretty much work the same, and what we don't, this gives us a chance to make everything a little more compatible with each other.
Petty Officer Griffiths has worked on board Canadian destroyers for years, but this was his first time on board a carrier.
We were up on the flight deck yesterday watching the flight ops after dinner, and it was impressive. It's like an orchestra, just watching everything move around.
Petty Officer Brian Kaiser on board USS Constellation.
The USS Saratoga is now a permanent part of the congressional record. This week, Florida Congresswoman Tilly Fowler recognized Saratoga on the floor of the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. She praised the Navy's relationship with Florida and paid tribute to past and present crew members of Saratoga as the ship returned from its final deployment.
In my district, we have a special relationship with the Navy, and we feel a great deal of pride in the ships and crews who are home ported there. That is why this Friday, June 24th, 1994, will be a bittersweet day for us all, because that is the day the Navy's oldest active-duty aircraft carrier, the USS Saratoga, commanded by Captain William H. Kennedy, will complete her final voyage, returning to Mayport from a 6-month deployment to the Mediterranean Sea. On June 12th, Saratoga turned over the watch to her relief, USS George Washington, our Navy's newest aircraft carrier, enabling the United States to maintain a continuous aircraft carrier presence in the Mediterranean Sea. As you can see, Mr. Speaker, the Sarah and her accompanying battle group ships have continued to do what we depend on our aircraft carriers to do best: provide a continuous and capable forward presence to ensure American interests are protected throughout the world. To maintain our forward presence, our national security strategy requires 11 active and 1 operational reserve aircraft carrier, and I believe that building CVN 76 is an investment for the future that we can afford right now. It is the right thing to do and the foundation for essential naval force modernization.
When we come back, we'll show you the military healthcare system of the future.
And we'll also have some tips on how to deal with a noisy neighbor. Stay with us.
You begin with raw steel. Shape it with fire, muscle, and sweat. Polish it to razor-sharp perfection. What you end up with is a Marine. We're looking for a few good men with a medal to be Marines.
Welcome back to Navy Marine Corps News. A trip to the doctor's office can often be a hassle, getting an appointment,
waiting in line,
and of course, the cost.
But as Petty Officer J.C. Morgan tells us, with the Navy's help, the Department of Defense is taking the hassle out of health care.
The DoD has adopted a new initiative to improve health care. The objective, accessible, quality health care for service members and their families. It's called Tricare.
The Defense Department has basically divided the country up into 12 regions. And each region, one service, has the primary responsibility of setting up the program for that whole region. We will coordinate the health care not only in the military hospitals, but also outside the military hospitals.
DoD officials insisted on a coast-to-coast uniform program so servicemen from all services can rely on it at any base.
Our challenge then is for us to make sure that the system in Virginia is the same as the system in Washington State, so that the sailors and Marines and airmen and all the people that come in when they move around will have the same system and they will know what they're getting into.
Tricare actually began as a Navy program in Tidewater, Virginia, but was so successful it was picked up by DoD.
Tricare plan is an attempt to have the three services, Army, Navy, Air Force, and we just brought Coast Guard on board as well, combine their efforts and provide better health care for our beneficiaries and develop a civilian network to support the existing hospital system.
Tricare offers 3 options tailored to meet the needs of servicemen and their families. Family members can now choose their own health care plan.
Most of the people who have used the system, have used the Tricare service centers to get their appointments, think that it's great. If nothing else, they can call one number, have one-stop shopping, and get into the system. And that beats the heck out of having to wait and wait and wait while the phone rings and rings and rings.
For Petty Officer Daniel Ellis, Tricare means less time waiting at the doctor's office.
Makes it so we can plan her naps accordingly, and just so we can plan our schedule around it, and we don't have to say we're going to take this day off to sit in nav care all day or sit at the acute care center or anything like that.
Plans call for Tricare to go national in just 3 years. Each region's lead agent is already in place, working on bringing Tricare to your base.
It saves time, it saves effort. Plus, like I say, once you get a Tricare provider to give up her phone number that you like, you can just deal with her, and it's like having a friend there that can help you.
For Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer J.C. Morgan, Norfolk.
After a long, hard day at work, one of the things you might look forward to is some peace and quiet.
But what if you have one of those obnoxious neighbors whose idea of relaxation is 1,000 watts of pure rock and roll?
Oh my goodness. Petty Officer Mark Kane has some helpful hints on how to be a good neighbor and how you should deal with people who aren't.
No matter how hard you try, sometimes you just can't find a little peace and quiet. The best thing to do in this situation is to politely ask the person to turn it down.
Hi. Can you turn it down a little bit? I'm trying to study upstairs.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Well, if that doesn't work, then make sure you tell one of your barrack supervisors. They should be able to take care of the disturbance.
Ultimately, the wing supervisors, if they're around, they will go and tell that person to turn their music down.
Yeah, excuse me, shipman, I got a complaint that your music was too loud. Not loud right now? Yeah, but if I get another complaint, security will be notified. Fair enough.
If they don't want to comply with security, then they're looking at apprehension. And then, of course, the chain of command will be notified at that time.
But what if you don't live in the barracks on base? What if someone in military or civilian housing is disturbing your peace? You may need to handle the situation a little differently. In some cases, it might be safer to let the pros handle it.
You never want to take the chance of knocking on the door where you think there's the potential of you getting hurt, whether it be by a gun or a knife. Let the officers who are trained handle that.
Other factors to consider are the time of day. Is it someone you know, or is there alcohol involved? But if that noisy neighbor is you...
And what you're doing to your neighbors, how you're disturbing them. But if you continue to do it, and you don't want to obey the law, just remember, sooner or later, we'll be at your doorstep, and we'll take you away.
Petty Officer Mark Kane, Washington.
You know, Herb, I think I actually know that guy. I think he's my upstairs neighbor, as a matter of fact.
I think everybody knows someone like that. But seriously, folks, if you do run into a situation like this and you've tried to talk it out and you still don't get results, make sure you take it up to a proper authority.
Definitely good advice. Well, from the Wright brothers to the first man on the moon, Americans have always had a fascination with flying.
Now here's one sailor who's happiest when he's tinkering with airplanes, both on and off duty. Petty Officer Tony Lopez reports.
At a recent air show at Atsugi Naval Air Facility, Japanese folks, some curious, others crazy about American military aviation, swarmed to see Carrier Air Wing 5 aircraft show their stuff. Among the throngs was Petty Officer Ward Toner of VA 115 displaying the aircraft he keeps in the sky, the A-6E Intruder. Keeping aircraft sound for air shows or carrier landings takes teamwork and attention to the smallest detail.
I've always loved working on airplanes, and the Navy just gave me the opportunity to learn a lot more about aviation and what it's all about.
But Petty Officer Toner's interest in aviation extends beyond hangar doors.
Models is pretty much where I started. When I was younger, I built a lot of models, and then later on, I started hang gliding and got addicted to flying.
And ever since then, he's taken on the challenge of putting together experimental jet aircraft.
I probably put in about 1,000 hours building on it right now, and I really enjoy working with metal and stuff like that, and it's one of the skills that I learned in the Navy.
Nice meeting you. From air shows to complex aircraft to home-built miniatures, learning experiences during Petty Officer Toner's years in the Navy will stay with him for a lifetime. Petty Officer Tony Lopez, Atsugi, Japan.
When we come back, we'll introduce you to baseball's Seattle Slugger.
And some sailors in Norfolk take a ride on some real high horsepower after work. Stay with us.
Every time we say goodbye.
Goodbyes are never easy, but none are as painful as saying goodbye forever. So please, give blood once more this year. You could help save someone you never want to part with.
I wonder why a little.
Welcome back to Navy Marine Corps News. Well, Kathleen, we're about halfway through the Major League Baseball season, and there's really one star out there who's shining brighter than anybody else.
And I'll have you know he's from my hometown of Seattle, Washington.
Lucky you. His name, of course, is Ken Griffey Jr., leading the major leagues with 30 home runs this season, and he's chasing Roger Maris's 1961 record of 61 homers in a season.
Well, Petty Officer Ron Flanders got the chance to talk with Ken Griffey Jr. when he was in Seattle recently, and has this report on the Seattle Slugger.
Got a lot of sailors and Marines out in the fleet that have a lot of questions for you. Big fan amongst the servicemen.
I'd like to know what part of your game would you like to improve on, and what do you do in your spare time?
First part is I don't feel that my game is, there's everything I need to improve on, I should say. Mainly I'm trying to work on my base running. I want to get 20 stolen bags this year. I haven't started to run yet, and in my spare time I'm just relaxed and just try to be a father and a husband. I have to keep myself on an even keel on certain things, and I just like to enjoy myself. I'm no different than you or anybody else. I'm just on TV. I'm a normal person.
How did it feel during your home run streak last year, and do you feel you can beat it in the future?
I really didn't feel anything during the streak. My dad just kept telling me, just pick out one pitch you think you can drive and try to hit it. And I picked it out 8 days in a row, and the 9th day I really didn't have it. I was a little tired. So, yeah, I don't see myself trying to break it, because it took a lot out of me. I didn't do well after that for a couple days until I got my mindset back.
That's all from Seattle. I'm Petty Officer Ron Flanders from the Kingdom.
Talk about a slugger. That Ken Griffey Jr., man, he can knock the hide off the ball.
How old is he, by the way?
I think he's like 24, something like that.
I don't even want to know how much money he makes. Don't even tell me.
Ching, 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 ching. Well, he's currently batting .331. He's got 59 RBIs on the season.
We'll try to bring you an update on his progress later in the season as he tries to break the home run record.
Now, our next story, it's about people who soften up the hide that covers these baseballs.
For all you auto enthusiasts who think that horsepower only comes with big engines and fast cars, in our next report, Petty Officer Brian Wood will show you some real horsepower at work, and that's no bull.
It's been described as the most physically demanding of all rodeo events.
As far as rodeo started right out on the, in the open, it started out saddle bronc riding. That's the only way they had to break their horses. So then it started going competition between ranches. That their hands was better than the others, and that's how it really got started. It's been a dream as a little boy. Everybody always has their dreams, and not everybody gets to fulfill them and live out their dreams, so that's what I'm out here to do. You can't hit all the shows. Just when you got a little time off, you get down the road. Usually you got a couple, 2, 3 guys that go with you. And you take the time, you drive all day or all night, whichever the case may be, and you get out there and you ride, and sometimes turn around and just drive straight back and go back to work. You always fear for it, but it seems like it's fear after the event's over. I mean, I've sat and thought about it, but I don't think it's enough to drive me away from it right now.
Dr. Pitt, here we go.
In your job, as far as the Navy's concerned, everything you do, you want to do to the best of your ability. That's what you're paid for, that's what you're there, and that's your job. So you take pride in everything you do. Out here, you take pride. It doesn't matter whether you get bucked off or not, because there's no shame coming off a good horse or a good bull. So if you go out and you get one rode, you can walk out there, hold your head up high, and if you get bucked off, there's no shame in that either. So either way, you don't lose out on the pride.
Lonnie Nyes, the cowboy from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania.
Thanks, but no thanks. I think I'm going to stick with a safer hobby like skydiving or something.
Bungee jumping.
Right. Well, that's going to wrap up our show for this week. By the way, thanks to all those who've been calling on our hotline with the good words and story ideas. If you want to call and leave a message on the hotline, the number is 202-433-6108. I'm Kathleen Booth.
And I'm Herb Josie. Before we go, here's another look at some Bronco busters at the Pungo Rodeo in Norfolk, shot by Petty Officer Mark Shaw and produced by Petty Officer Brian Wood. Have a great week.
It'll drive a cowboy crazy. It'll drive a man insane. Then he'll sell off everything he owns just to pay to play the game. And a broken home and some broken bones is all he'll have to show. For all the years that he spent chasing this dream they call rodeo.